And hello, welcome to Aldgate station. We're on the Met line on the Just Train Sim Classic DLC, and we're going to be taking a run up to Uxbridge. I was thinking when I was in London the other day, I was thinking it's ages since I've driven this route, so let's give this a try. So let's first of all unpause the game and let's get our S7+1 train set up. So we need to put the master key into on. We'll go into the trip cop mode, put the dead man's handle like that, and then that way we shouldn't set the alarms off too much, hopefully. Then this stuff, the duty number we don't know, we haven't been provided with that, and we'll put anything random in for the handheld radio. And the train number we do know though, it's the 446, and we do need to put the destination code in correctly so that the announcements work, and we are a all station service through to Uxbridge, just over an hour all told. That's the preliminary setup, and then let's get the doors open.
Find the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Aldgate. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Liverpool Street.
Well, this is a scenario created by Larwood, and it's on Alan Thomson Simulation, done quite a few years ago actually. But the good thing about this is it's got the stock from the virtual district line. So we've got old C-stop trains representing the Circle and the Hammersmith and City lines, and you also see the 1973 Piccadilly line stock as well, which is on the Jubilee services. So it's at least it's a little bit different. And also when we get to Farringdon, we'll see the Thameslink services as well, which is really good to see. I thought it's just slightly different than the run-of-the-mill. I mean, there's some very good scenarios provided out of the pack, but I thought just to add a bit of variety, and also being at rush hour time as well. And the one thing we can say, and to be honest, I don't know where the 15 mile an hour marker is along here, but you can go straight up to the high speed limit once you go past the marker. It's not like with the network rail trains or national rail trains where the whole of the train has to be through the marker. So like here for instance, we've got the 40 mile an hour, so it goes straight up to 40. Now Train Sim Classic isn't scripted well enough to be able to understand that, so it will kind of tell you off for speeding, but we know that we're not. We are obeying the rules of the London Underground. The only exception is if you've got a red circle round it, and you'll get that sometimes.
The next station is Liverpool Street. Change for the Central Line, TfL Rail, London Overground and National Rail services.
Unfortunately, the only thing that has changed a little bit is there is an issue with the passengers slightly, unfortunately, as you can see there.
This is Liverpool Street. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Moorgate.
It's funny, but that passenger bug didn't exist on the game when it came out, but it seems to have been something that's introduced in later incarnations of Train Sim Classic. As ever, you solve one problem and you create another. Now, you might very well say, if you ride on the Met Line now in real life, you're probably aware that the section between Aldgate and Finchley Road is ATO, automatic train operated, so the driver basically just opens and shuts the doors. The train drives itself. But this is set just a little period before then, where we have approach control signals and draw up signals, and we've got one coming up here at Moorgate, so we have to be down to 4.9 miles an hour when we get there.
The next station is Moorgate. Change for the Northern Line and National Rail Services.
Seems determined to do its worst on me, the passengers on this particular run, unfortunately. But you will see that signal there. Yep, changes to green. If there is a mod somewhere that anybody knows of that clears that glitch, it's probably possible to go into each station where it occurs and actually sort it out, but I don't actually know how to deal with it really.
This is Moorgate. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station. The front doors will not open at the next station. Please use other doors.
And the stations have been really built exquisitely by Just Trains, and that kind of gives you the hope that maybe this route will come from Just Trains at some point in Train Sim World. Love to see it. Now, I think I'm right in saying that it's possible to use models and transfer them from one game to the other, because we've certainly seen buildings in Train Sim World that you know damn well you've seen them in Train Sim Classic. I mean, whether that's quite so easy when it's something as detailed as a large station, I don't know. Let's hope so. So Barbican is next. Slightly easier doing the northbound run with these approach controls than the
The
southbound run.
next station is Barbican. Exit for the Museum of London. The front doors will not open at the next station. Please use other doors. This is Barbican. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Farringdon.
So we see a C-stop train coming in, very, very familiar sight. Only a relative few years back. I mean, I'd be perfectly happy if this came out for Train Sim World. Well, it wouldn't be 5, would it? Be 6 probably now, at least, but whatever era they choose. I guess the modern day one would be a little bit more problematic, because you wouldn't really want an ATO section. A little bit boring. I mean, in some ways it'd be quite cool, I suppose, but I don't know, you want to drive these things, don't you?
train and the platform.
So the only thing I've done with this scenario is actually to substitute in the Thameslink stop, because we had that very old D0 City Pack, I think it was called. It was done by somebody called Albie Pierce, I think, on Alan Thomson, and you know, it was okay as a standby, but
Find the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Farringdon. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is King's Cross and Pancras.
but it's a great scenario. Really busy. We've got a little gap here to King's Cross, St Pancras. I love the fact that we have the whole of the Met Line represented on this route as well, with the branches off to Cheshunt and Amersham and Uxbridge, Watford as well. Actually, that timer was slightly too early for the 40 mile an hour. It is cut and cover, as they call it, so we are literally just below the surface, and of course this is the oldest part of the tube network, and in fact I think it's the oldest underground network in the world, and this Met Line is the oldest part of it. To these speed limits as best we can. Maybe slightly premature with the reduction down to 25 mile an hour. We kind of swing quite wildly into King's Cross and Pancras.
The next station is King's Cross and Pancras. Change for the Northern, Piccadilly and Victoria lines, national and international rail services. Exit for the Royal National Institute of Blind People and the British Library.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Find the gap between the train and the platform.
This is King's Cross and Pancras. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Euston Square.
Now, just to make sure, I mean, here you might think, I think actually we should have been just slightly further forward, because that's the marker. So you'll see that these, there you go, it's cleared yet. Just wanted to make it clear that we weren't passing through a red signal. So Euston Square is next. Just over about an hour's trip all told to Uxbridge. Literally, it's just a couple hundred yards or so from the station at Euston Square to walk across to Euston Station itself.
The
We said it.
next station is Euston Square. Change for London Overground and National Rail services from Euston.
I mean, it would be great if you could actually just walk up the steps here, wouldn't it, and walk across to Euston Station. Maybe one day, and have all the sort of the pubs, the buildings, the offices, everything like it would be in real life.
Euston Square. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Great Portland Street.
Very much suspect we won't be able to maintain the timetable that's been set for the scenario. It's incredibly difficult. Well, I hope you're enjoying the video, by the way, and if you are a new viewer to the channel, then if you would consider liking and subscribing, I'd be tremendously grateful. Be really appreciated, and as ever, thank you very much to everybody that has liked and subscribed in the past. Your support is always hugely appreciated.
The next station is Great Portland Street. Change for Circle and Hammersmith and City Line services via Paddington.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Great Portland Street. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Baker Street.
So we've got a bit of work to do when we get to Baker Street, because the first thing to look out for is a feather, and it's located just before the 15-mile-an-hour limit, and we'll have an approach control signal, so we must make sure we're doing no more than 14.9 mile an hour. And then we've got another one of those draw-up signals halfway along the platform, so we mustn't be doing more than 4.9 miles an hour. Fascinating station though, Baker Street. Of course, we've got it in Trainson World as well, with the Bakerloo line. I'm going to hurdle along here because we've got it not too far off. That's cleared for us, and at this point you're thinking, wait a minute, we've got a train head on here, what's going on? But we are actually going to swing round in a second, because that's the circle line.
The next station is Baker Street. Change for the Bakerloo, Circle, Hammersmith City and Jubilee lines. Exit for Madame Tussauds.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
So we're being a bit cautious here actually, because it's these markers coming up on the right that we have to be wary of, but so I think we're definitely going to be okay for them clearing. There you go, clear to green, so we can speed up slightly to get into the platform now.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Baker Street. This is an all-station Metropolitan line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Finchley Road.
Love some of the detail. And you've got here probably my most favourite bit. And if you've got those video markers at the bottom as well, then that shows that you've done a good job in terms of stopping, because of course they would be live video pictures in real life. I mean, we had something with that Subway Sim 2 recently where you have mirrors, and then I think on one of the, might be the Hamburg trains, where they've actually got some sort of video where it looks back, which is pretty amazing. It's a lot more tricky doing a southbound run from Finchley Road to Baker Street. You really are all over the shop with the speed limits. There's the 40, I saw that. But then, way before you get to the 40, you've got another one that drops us down to 25. So there are some speed limits that you kind of can't get your head around. What's the point? Once we get to Finchley Road, we'll completely emerge out into the open then. This bit here is roundabout at the Lord's Cricket Ground area. So this is St John's Wood. There used to be a station many years ago at Lord's. Eerie, these old stations that used to be. You can see a ton of YouTube videos about such things. I'm quite glad that it's not completely pitch black, and I know probably not realistic. I mean, we've seen loads of cab ride videos where it's really dark, but I think it's good to be able to see something, at least the tunnel lining and stuff. It's a hard balance to get exactly right, I suppose. Then once we do get to Finchley Road, we'll be completely out in the open then as far as Uxbridge. We'll go up to Harrow on the Hill before we take the Uxbridge branch. We'll be getting fast to Wembley Park after Finchley Road. Slightly easier with the approach controls as well beyond this section. It's the 40 again, and again straight down to 25. Certainly aware as a real driver, in the days before ATO came in, it must have been quite a headache trying to get your head around all these signals and learning it and all the different speed limits. It's probably one of my favourite routes on the underground. The district line fascinating as well. I like some of the character of the stations.
The next station is Finchley Road. Change for the Jubilee line.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
We'll see some Jubilee line trains, or at least as close as we've got in terms of stock in Train Sim Classic anyway.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Finchley Road.
Busy old
This is
station
the
here
next
as well.
station, Metropolitan line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Wembley Park.
Of that reassuring clunk. We have to press R to get the proper interlock into play, and those red door control lights go out. The kind of the gas light is all I can call it. The one underneath lights up slightly in blue. So we're going to go pretty fast from here on in. Okay, 25 mile initially, but then up to 50 and even 60 in places. Unheard of on the underground network, really, apart from on the Met line. And we're also on a section now where it's only the Jubilee line trains that would stop at places like Neasden and Dollis Hill. Great name, that Dollis Hill. It's one of my favourite names of stations anywhere. Don't know why. We are climbing, so we are getting up to 50 though, and then soon that amazing 60 mile an hour. We are alongside the Chiltern main line as well, so we might see the odd Chiltern main line train. So we're non-stop to Wembley Park. Great scenario though, plenty of traffic, interesting train to drive, plenty of attention required in terms of all the various signals and coping with approach control and draw up signals and all that palaver. Big depot at Neasden. And there are services that start at Neasden depot as well within the pack. Great Art Deco stations along here as well. Seems no time at all when you're on this thing in real life to be hurtling between Wembley Park and into the tunnel section into central London. Have to be mindful. We dropped down to 50 initially, but then 30. I think we're over the points into platform 2 at Wembley Park. As always with driving tube trains, you're conscious that you obviously have to get down, but they do accelerate and brake pretty sharply, so you don't want to be too early because you're never going to be anywhere close to making the timetable if you don't drive appropriately. Wembley Park.
The next station is Wembley Park. Change for the Jubilee line. Exit for Wembley Stadium and Wembley Arena.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Yeah, it's undergone a massive transformation over the last few years. The facilities at Wembley Park hugely improved compared with how it used to be. Very much to cope with the demands of the stadium.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Wembley Park. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Preston Road.
Again, some of the scenery is a bit basic, but at the end of the day, it's not right next to the track. But I do like how they have the the current station. You go up those steps and the sign as well. We are stopping at Preston Road, and I think if this was a semi-fast Met Line train, we wouldn't be stopping at Preston Road. I think I'm right in saying that. There's a couple of stations anyway that we don't stop at on a semi-fast, and that's quite unique in terms of tube services. You very, very rarely get services that don't stop at all stations. A lot of custom models that have been put into this game. They're not just the stations as well, but really gives you the character for the area.
The next station is Preston Road. This is Preston Road. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Northwick Park.
Apologies, by the way, if you're watching on Sunday. Rather sudden, abrupt end to the live stream, but I've been having a few broadband problems. It all started with a lightning strike a couple of weeks ago, not on the house fortunately, but it was nearby. It knocked out the broadband. That was kind of fixed, but we needed a new router because we'd had a power surge that had blown the old one. So we tried it with an old router and that worked like a dream, but for some reason putting the new router in theory it seemed alright, but I think there's one or two things that weren't quite right connectivity wise, so I think we're sorted now. We should be alright for this coming Sunday. Computers 8, and I'll never understand them.
The next station is Northwick Park.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is Northwick Park. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Harrow on the Hill.
on the Hill's an interesting station as well. It's kind of got a bigger feel about it, and certainly even the Chiltern railway services stop there as well, don't they? Then after that we will take the Uxbridge branch. Sharp eye out on these signals in case of anything untoward as we come into Harrow on the Hill. Before departing Harrow on the Hill, allow passengers to transfer for the fast service arriving on platform 3. Well, I hope we could do that. It'd be rude not to, wouldn't it?
The next station is Harrow on the Hill. Change for Metropolitan Line services to Watford, Chesham and Amersham, and National Rail services.
It confuses me massively that there's a Chesham and a Cheshunt. Magic confuses me that there's a Brentford and a Brentwood as well, but
This is Harrow on the Hill. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is West Harrow.
yeah, a whole manner of buildings in and around here, and the buses lined up as well. I think when we get to West Harrow, we literally are on the Uxbridge branch there. Really must one of these days put some oil into this chair. That's the squeaking sound that you hear. It's nothing to do with Train Simulator. So what about the news this week then from Train Sim World? Well, we've heard all about the cargo line, the next version of it, the military pack, was announced today, the release date for that. So quite looking forward to that. It's a little bit niche. I mean, I can't ever remember seeing stuff like that in real life. But quite interesting, something a bit different. And then I think next week we have the roadmap, I would have thought, for June. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get very imminent news on the Class 86 pack and the actual data release, because we've had the loop through video, the walk around already posted, so you kind of expect that will come out in the next couple of weeks. Really looking forward to that.
The next
between the train and the platform.
This is West Harrow. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Rayners Lane.
Presumably that's why it's called Harrow on the Hill, with the there's the hill. But I love how even this far back you can see all the scenery in the background. Yeah, the 86, really looking forward to. I mean, it's going to be straight out of the box. Great use for the West Coast Main Line over Shap. And those Mark II air-conditioned carriages as well, and the Mark I buffet car. It looks so much better for the cross-country stuff, because the Mark II non-air conditioned would have been a rare sight on a cross-country working, I think in the 80s. Looking forward as well to seeing the reskins that people do as well. It'll be right at home in Virgin Trains colours on the West Coast Main Line South, and that will be quite exciting to do. And same goes with Freightliner livery as well. We could do a run on the North London line.
The next station is Rayners Lane. Change for the Piccadilly line.
Yeah, we're into Dale Charman territory now, aren't we? The Piccadilly line. Of course, we've seen many videos of him driving the Piccadilly line into Uxbridge.
This is Rayners Lane. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Eastcote.
Great shame that they didn't allow Dale Charman to carry on, but thank goodness we've got a plethora of videos already up on his channel. It's good to see that people are still supporting him as well after what happened. Who knows, perhaps they might relent and allow him to do cab rides again, but seems unlikely now. So we do have to be conscious of approach control signals between the next section, between Eastcote and Hillingdon. So it should be 9.9 miles an hour, but only for the very last bit as we come in towards the stopping point. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, he says. So by the looks of things, that Piccadilly line train had got priority over the Met Line service. And there's one waiting behind it as well.
The next station is Eastcote.
Love the oldie worldy lights on this station.
This is Eastcote. This is an all-station Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Ruislip Manor.
I must try and get round to doing some videos on some of the other sections of this route as well. I mean, I know it's quite an old route now, but I think it's pretty decent still. Ruislip Manor followed by Ruislip. So just keeping all fingers crossed really that I can make this a flawless drive into Uxbridge, because I'd be slightly annoyed with myself for falling foul on a video that has taken nearly an hour to do and then not getting it to the very end.
The next station is Ruislip Manor. This is Ruislip Manor. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Ruislip.
Love the detail there. I think that's superb. And the older roundel that's there as well. That probably would have made quite a nice thumbnail actually, wouldn't it? Too late now though. Such a little gap between these stations. You can't imagine nowadays this being built so close together. Why would there be a demand so close together?
The next station is Ruislip. Ruislip. This is an all-stations Metropolitan line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Ickenham.
The old signal box there as well. Again, boarded up. Where have we got left off after Ickenham? So we've got Ickenham, Hillingdon, and then Uxbridge. So we are getting towards Journey's End. Hillingdon is a famous station as well, but a pretty new one. But that huge interchange, the road network. It's the A40, I think, that crosses there, isn't it? I can never remember why it's brackets Swakeleys. I have read and looked into this before, but I can't remember. I think this is where you got the depot, haven't you, for the Piccadilly line. I love how we got the announcements in the game. I think they basically sat with a train at Neasden Depot and went through all the announcements, just trains. It wasn't included originally with the pack, so fantastic when that came out. Really adds to it.
The next station is Ickenham. This is Ickenham. This is an all-stations Metropolitan line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Hillingdon.
Just thinking again about Trains and World 5 and the roadmap next week, but hopefully a bit more news about the Alan Thomson Manchester Airport route as well. And kind of hope that's might be a bit optimistic to get a release date announced for that next week, but hopefully a bit more news, and it seems to be edging closer and closer to release. Kind of given up hope that it might include an extension to Crewe. I don't think that's doable. I mean, that line that is going to feature Crewe, I have no idea when we're going to hear about that. Time will tell. Fascinating station this is.
The next station is Hillingdon.
thing about that 9.9 is you probably don't really have to worry about it too much, because if you're coming up to a red signal and you're not doing 9.9 or less, there's something wrong with you. So
This is Hillingdon. This is an all-stations Metropolitan Line train to Uxbridge. The next station is Uxbridge.
again, and just imagine all the detail of the time it took to get the dual carriageway noted. I think that is the A40, isn't it? That becomes the M40 eventually as you head out of London. I think you've got some sort of grandiose, well, I say grandiose, but you've got a pub there that's been modelled in some detail. The final hurdle, we have to remember there's a signal before Uxbridge station, which is 9.9 miles an hour with an approach control signal, and it's got to be reached by the previous yellow aspect repeater. So hopefully if we can get that right, we'll be able to get into Uxbridge station okay. I've seen a load of people trying this route, and even videos on YouTube where people haven't taken advantage of these approach control things. I've got a PDF, and I can't remember for the life of me if that came with the Just Trains add-on or not, or whether it's something I found, but it's an invaluable guide because it tells you where they all are. I mean, there are videos that Tom and other people have done explaining a bit about these approach controls, but it's difficult to cover every single aspect of this route. We are coming towards the end, so just conscious of making sure we get this 9.9. It's probably just literally before that 10 mile an hour marker, isn't it? But I just want to be sure on this. Because that's the repeater, isn't it? Surely. Yay. Yeah, that's pleasing. I've read people saying that you have to tab past that signal, but not if you do it exactly as you're supposed to do. We should be clear into the platform now, I think. It's 15 followed by 10 mile an hour. We do have a slight problem here though, because the tracks are occupied. I'm not sure that's supposed to have happened. So I'm hoping that train's going to shift at some point. Otherwise we do have a problem. I mean, we did get clearance. Where is that supposed to be going to? That's supposed to be an Aldgate, all station service. I mean, whilst we're here, we'll have a quick look at. This is a bit like Cockfosters, and built in very much in that era, and very, very nicely done as well, the model. So I'll say this at this point: if that train doesn't shift and we don't go into the station, then I'm going to end the video with this. But there's some amazing detail. Love that as well, the coat of arms, and then Uxbridge itself, and you have this bit represented here on the outside. Yeah, I'm sure there's a cafe around there as well. There might even have sat and dog eyeing up the food. And then you've got the sports shops in and around. So again, quite nicely done. And then I think, if you can get it right, yeah, I mean, it says Travel Lodge actually, but that's where there is a Premier Inn right next to where the bus depot is. Now I'm getting this horrible feeling that that train is not going to shift. So apart from that, it's been a flawless video. So unfortunately, we're not quite going to be able to get to the very end, but I'm afraid that's Train Sim Classic for you occasionally. Not going to start it all over again and get that train to shift, but never mind. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and you can join me and our fabulous community for one of the live streams at 5 o'clock on Sunday night. That's the regular 4 hours, providing the broadband doesn't break this week, but I'm confident that we should be back to normal, hopefully. But thank you very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. But until next time, from Powerflower Trains and Planes, it is goodbye.